Text number 4. Atre apatam abhikangshata ahatushto. Apatam abhikangshata ahatushto. Dato mayaham itiyad bhagavan sadataha. Dato mayam samyam sadataha. Yat pada panga japayaga pavirta deha. Japayaga pavirta deha. Yogardim apu upayam yadu hey hayadyaha. Yogadhim apu upayim yadu hey hayadaha. Atre apatam abhikangshata ahatushto. Atre apatam abhikangshata ahatushto. Dato mayaham itiyad bhagavan sadataha. Yat pada panga japayaga pavitra deha. Yogardim apu upayim yadu hey hayadyaha. Prabhus. Atre apatyam abhikangshata ahatushto. Dato mayaham itiyad bhagavan sadataha. Yat pada panga japayaga pavitra deha. Yogardim apupayim yadu hey hayadyaha. Atre, of the sage Atri. Apatyam, issue. Abhikangshataha, having prayed for. Aha, said it. Tushtaha, being satisfied. Dataha, given over. Maya, by me. Aham, myself. Iti, thus. Yat, because. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Saha, he. Tataha, Dattatreya. Yatpada, one whose feet. Pankaja, lotus. Paraga, dust. Pavitra, purified. Deha, body. Yoga, mystic. Rhythm, opulence. Apuhu, got. Ubayam, for birth worlds. Yadu, the father of the Yadu dynasty. Haihaya Adhyaha, and others like King Haihaya. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The great sage Atri prayed for offspring, and the Lord, being satisfied with him, promised to incarnate as Atri's son, Dattatreya, Datta, the son of Atri. And by the grace of the lotus feet of the Lord, many Yadus, Haihayas, etc., became so purified that they obtained both material and spiritual blessings. Purport. Transcendental relations between the personality of Godhead and the living entities are eternally established in 5 different affectionate humours, which are known as Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. The sage Atri was related with the Lord in the affectionate Vatsalya humour, and therefore, as a result of his devotional perfection, he was inclined to have the personality of Godhead as his son. The Lord accepted his prayer, and he gave himself as a son of Atri. Such a relationship of sonhood between the Lord and his pure devotees can be cited in many instances. And because the Lord is unlimited, he has an unlimited number of father devotees. Factually, the Lord is the Father of all living entities. But out of mature affection and love between the Lord and his devotees, the Lord takes more pleasure in becoming the son of a devotee than in becoming one's father. The Father actually serves the Son, whereas the Son only demands all sorts of services from the Father. Therefore, a pure devotee who is always inclined to serve the Lord wants him as the Son and not as the Father. The Lord also accepts such service from the devotee, and thus the devotee becomes more than the Lord. The impersonalists desire to become one with the Supreme, but the devotee becomes more than the Lord, surpassing the desire of the greatest monist. Parents and other relatives of the Lord achieve all mystic opulences automatically because of their intimate relationship with the Lord. Such opulences include all details of material enjoyment, salvation, and mystic powers. Therefore, the devotee of the Lord does not seek them separately, wasting his valuable time in life. The valuable time of one's life must therefore be fully engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Then other desirable achievements are automatically gained. But even after obtaining such achievements, one should be on guard against the pitfall of offenses at the feet of devotees. The vivid example is Achyuta, who achieved all such perfection in devotional service, but because of his offense at the feet of a devotee, was killed by Lord Parashurama. The Lord became the son of the great sage Atri and became known as Dattatreya. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Upakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuttapadvakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Sahavadutam Bharjana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Yara Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Goyangi Ade Vrindhavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamhami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatahubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadaya Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you very much for being here. In today's verse, Lord Brahma is explaining to Narada Muni, is having a discussion on how devotional service is done through the different aspects of the different rasas or humours. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is explaining how devotional service actually should be done. So when we look at the context of this verse, when I first looked at this verse, because my mind is a comparing state. So I compared Vaishnavism with other religions such as Christianity and Islam. And in this verse, we can actually appreciate that in Vaishnavism, we are actually very, very fortunate. So in other religions, Christianity, Islam, etc., their philosophy is that God is great. And that is it. It is limited and there's no service that we can actually do because they are reciprocating with the Lord, as we know in Shantavas. Shantavas is neutrality out of respect. However, in Vaishnavism, we can see so many different types of relationships. Like Srila Prabhupada has given a list of Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. So because we have so many different relationships with the Supreme Lord that we can have, our philosophy is very high. And because it is very high, in Bhagavad Gita 9.2, we all are familiar with it. Rajavidya Rajaguyam Pravitam Idam Uttamam Pratyakshamam Dharmyam Susakam Kartam Avyam. So this knowledge is the king of all education. So what we are doing right now, the Vaishnavism process, that is the most topmost that we can actually do compared to other religions. And it is the most secret of all secrets. And it is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self-realization, it is the perfection of religion. So Vaishnavism is the perfection of religion. Krishna is actually saying it himself to Arjuna, that Vaishnavism is the topmost of religion because it allows us to have so many different relationships with the Lord. It doesn't just stop at having respect. There's a lot more to that. And when we look at other religions, we can see that the point of difference is that the reason why we have so many different types of services available to us is because the devotees actually want to do service. If we go back to the translation of Bhagavad Gita 9.2, I'm sure most of us may have read this verse before, but in the last sentence it says that last sentence Sri Krishna is saying is that it is everlasting and is joyfully performed. So there are two main keywords in that last sentence. It is everlasting and is joyfully performed. So I'm pretty sure many of us, we may have come across this this sentence, but if we actually stop to think, what does it actually mean? What is everlasting? What is joyfully performed? So everlasting, according to the Oxford Dictionary, has two meanings. The first meaning is that it lasts forever. And the second meaning is that it never stops. So devotional service in this context, devotional service, firstly, it lasts forever. And secondly, it also never stops. So it lasts forever in the sense that we can always do devotional service. Like in every moment of our life, there is at least one service that we can do every second. Our time cannot be wasted necessarily. And it also never stops. So because we have so many relationships with the Supreme Lord, it doesn't just stop at Shanta. We can keep going. We can keep going. We can't stop. There are 5 different types of the relationships with the Lord that has been described in the purport. First, it is Shantaras, then Dasaras, then Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. So Shanta, as we explained, is out of respect, so it's neutrality. And Dasya is as a servant. So servant, common example is Hanuman, for example, dedicate the life to serving Krishna 24 hours, 24/7. Sakya is as a friend, which is Arjuna. So Sakya is in the mood of equality. So equality means that, like Arjuna, he considered Krishna as his best friend, his mate, pretty much. Vatsalya is as the parents, and through Vatsalya, we can see the example as Atri Muni. Atri Muni was like the father of Dattatreya. And Madhur is as conjugal love, which is Radharani and the gopis. So we can see that in the form of Krishna, the form of Krishna is the same. He has the same form as Krishna, but his relationships are different. So he has 5 different relationships that we can actually have with him. So one popular example is Vrindavan, for example. If we go to Vrindavan or read Krishna book, we can see that the trees that are there, they are in the mood of Shanta. Shanta is basically like out of respect, so they bow down to the Lord. It's neutrality. Then we can see like examples of Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya through the Lord's eternal pastimes. So through that, the point of difference is that the devotees actually want to do service, and because they want to do service, we actually have that available to us, and it never stops. The second important word is joyfully performed. Joyfully performed is that basically means that people are happy. Basic definition, people are happy when they do something. And in the purport of 9.2, Srila Prabhupada actually explains this very nicely. He says, the process of devotional service is a very happy one, sushukam. Why? Devotional service consists of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. So one can simply hear the chanting of the glories of the Lord, or can attend philosophical lectures on transcendental knowledge given by authorized acharyas. Simply by sitting, one can learn, then one can eat the remnants of the food offered to the Lord, nice palatable dishes. In every state, devotional service is joyful. So every state, that we do service, it is joyful. From my personal experience, I do understand I am a child, but from my personal experience, I have found that the devotional service is actually fun. For example, distributing books, it's fun. Worshipping the deities is also fun. Doing kirtan is also fun. I'm sure any of you, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure none of you have come across a person eating prasadam and crying at the same time. It just never happens. Devotional service is done out of bliss. So, devotional service, because of this, it is actually the prime aspect of Krishna consciousness. Because our goal is only to do devotional service unto the Lord. We have no other goal, you can say. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.9.10, this is a verse that comes when during Damodar Leela, when Mother Yashoda is chasing after Krishna. Then Srila Prabhupada says something that really, really struck in me. He said that if one wants to capture Lord Krishna, one must undertake devotional service. So if we have any hope of reaching Krishna, even though Krishna is so far yet so close to us, all we can do is actually render devotional service unto Him. So our goal should be to capture Krishna. That has to be our topmost goal. That can only be done through the means of devotional service. On this note, it is also important to mention that on top of this, doing service is also our nature. Our nature is to do service. I was listening to a lecture by His Holiness Sankarshan Maharaj, and he gave a very nice example of the fish in the water. When the fish's natural position is to be in the water, but and it's naturally suited for swimming. But once it goes out of the water into the land, it can't breathe. It starts to die. So we can understand that our nature is to serve. It is not to be served. So the fish, our natural position is to be served, just like the fishes in the water. So we are to be served. So we need to serve. So our our nature is to serve Supreme Lord. However, once we go out of that and we try to be served, that is actually when problems start to happen. So in Chaitanya Madhya Lila 20.108, there's one very famous verse, Jivara Srupo Hoya Krishna Nitya Das, Krishna Tadashta Shakti, Beda Bed Prakash. So in this verse, I was actually listening to this verse by His Grace Tarla Vilochana Krishna Prabhu. He was saying that Jivara means of the living entity, but Sarupa means the constitutional position. So the constitutional position of the living entity is what Krishna or Nitya Das. Krishna means of Lord Krishna. Nitya Das means eternal servant. So our constitutional position is to be the servant of Krishna. So constitutional, there are two meanings for constitutional. The first meaning is that it is fundamental. Fundamental meaning is like the ground-based principle, like it is our foundation. And secondly, it cannot be changed. For example, like the constitutional comes from the word constitution. The constitution is the ground-basing, principles of the law, of the government, and it cannot be changed, unless like a referendum or something, but generally cannot be changed. So devotees, we can see that they are more happy giving than receiving, because giving is actually their constitutional position. Because our inherent nature is actually to do service. And we can see in our lives that we actually do serve. But unfortunately, we're ending up serving the wrong people. So we serve the bosses, the family, the country, family, friends, etc. But we are actually meant to be doing that service for Krishna. And there was one very funny quote Srila Prabhupada said, that if we do not end up serving God, G-O-D, then we end up serving dog, D-O-G. But somehow or other we have to serve. Whether it's God or dog, we have to serve either. Okay, so what actually happens when we do not serve? We can see so many examples. When people do not do a devotional service, what happens to them? What they do is that they come into anxiety. We can see that people who tend to have more occupation, like more wealth, more rich and everything, they're more anxious, they have more anxiety. And the reason for this is not because they are lacking anything materially. That is just an illusion. They have everything that they need. Like they have wealth, they have money, they have opulence, fame, wealth, everything. But the main reason is because they want to be served. They are in want of services. Once you actually start expecting things from the world, that is when problems actually start happening. So devotees, non-devotees, what they do, they think that the more they are served, the more they are happy. If I am served more, then I will be happy. If my needs are being met, then I'm happy. But devotees, I understand that in the spiritual realm, it is the exact opposite. It is the more that we serve, the more that we become happy. So because of this, because we understand the more we serve, the more we become happy, we want to do more service. So an example of this is the great sage Achyuta. He was given one of the most highest opportunities to serve Krishna through the will of his father. And we can, in the purport, it is explained that the father actually serves the son, whereas the son only demands all sorts of services from the father. Therefore, a pure devotee who was always inclined to serve the Lord wants him as a son, not as a father. So the father has so many responsibilities, not only the father but also the parents as well. So many responsibilities to look after the son. They have to raise him up, protect him, give him education, give him meet all his necessities. But to come to that stage, we have to come to that stage first. Otherwise, if we look at it, how can we become the father of the Lord? Like if we go to just for example, we go to the Prime Minister or Donald Trump or Scott Morrison and we say, Scott Morrison, I want you to be my son. You can't do that. You can't go to such a big personality and say, I want you to be my son. So we have to come to that stage first. It's a gradual process. So what is that gradual process? The advanced stage of devotional service, the more we serve, the more opportunities we actually get. So we have to keep serving more, and then more opportunities will come to us. I remember in a class given by my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Janananda Goswami Maharaj, he was saying that if one is doing devotional service, he does not need to do anything else. When you do devotional service, when you do devotional service, my personal experience, all your needs are being met by itself. There is no need to do any demigod worship because you can attain everything as mentioned in the purport. The purport says that such opulences, including all details of material enjoyment, salvation, and mystic powers. Therefore, the devotee of the Lord does not seek them separately, wasting his valuable time in life. What happens is that people, they take the detour. They go serve the demigods, and then they leave the Supreme Lord on the side. But what actually happens, what we need to understand, is that the demigods actually get the power that they have from the Supreme Lord. So there is no need to actually go indirectly when we can actually go directly. I remember Achyuta Prabhu in his Gopal Grace Gang class, he gave an example that to touch the nose, there are two ways to touch the nose. Either touch like this, or you go around and you touch. Either way, you're touching the nose still. But you can either go directly, or you can actually go all the way around. So in this way, when we go directly, all the needs are being met. We don't have to waste all our valuable time. So there is one verse in Srimad Bhagavatam 4.31.14. There it is said that it's a very, very, very popular verse. As pouring water off the root of a tree energizes a trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and limbs of the body, simply worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods who are part of the Supreme Lord. So just as there are two examples given, first is the tree's trunks and the roots. You should just water the root, and then the twigs, the branches, the leaves, they're automatically nourished. Same thing with the stomach. The stomach, I have a finger here. The finger, I can't feed the finger. However, if I feed the stomach, and then the stomach will then go generate blood and then nourish all my other organs, or my senses, or my organs. So in that way, we don't have to worry necessarily about worshipping the demigods. I'm not saying this out of disrespect. Demigods, we still have to have respect for them. At the same time, the worship should be kept for Krishna. Because by worshipping Krishna, we can obtain everything. We don't have to waste our valuable time. Because what happens is that what we actually do is that there's one very popular story that Srila Prabhupada is giving that can explain this point very nicely. So there was this one person, what happened is that he went and he For 10 years, he was doing some yogi perfections to attain some siddhis. What actually happened is that he spent all his 10 years, and when he came back, he said that he could walk across the water. So everyone was like, oh, well, this is a really, really big thing. This person can walk around the water. So they went to watch him. And then this one old person came. He saw him walking. Then he said, what is the value in it? What's the big value? Because to walk across the water, it costs 2 cents. You just have to go on a boat. There's no value in that. So this person, he spent 10 years to do something that costs only 2 cents. Like, I know it hurts, but like, if you waste your time doing something that's invaluable, it's really just a waste of time. You can just go straight and then use that 10 years for serving Krishna. You can go so much more higher. So by worshipping Krishna, we can obtain anything. So then, in this regard, the question actually arises, when do we progress to rasas? So rasas is a very high stage. It's very, very high. When can we actually progress to rasas? So my own Guru Maharaj was explaining in a recent class as well, that he was actually asked a question from a devotee, that what rasa are we on? What rasa are we as devotees? What are we on? And which one should we serve through? So I remember Guru Maharaj, he gave a very, very serious, very grave answer. That answer was that we are currently in dasya. We are in dasya ras, we are serving the Lord. Because we are not qualified to progress to the rasas yet. To progress to the rasas, now this is very important, to progress in the rasas, we have to have unflinching devotional service. I repeat this again. To progress in the rasas, we have to have unflinching devotional service. So what is unflinching? Unflinching service in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6. This is one of the very famous verses. Some people even recite this before they read Srimad Bhagavatam. Save pumsam parodharmo yato bhakti radoksaje ahetugi aprati hata yana atma supasidati. So the translation is, the supreme occupation, dharma, of all humanity is that by which men can obtain to loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So, in this verse, there are 2 very important words, uninterrupted and unmotivated. So if we look at the last 2 lines of this verse, ahituki apratihata yena atma suprasidati. Ahituki means causeless. So causeless means it's unmotivated. So I am not doing this to gain something. I'm just doing it out of my own heart, you can say. I'm not doing this to obtain anything. And the second word is apratihata. Apratihata means unbroken. So it is firm, it is not broken. It's very fixed. And then ye atma means by which the self, and suprasidati. Suprasidati means completely satisfied. So here the secret is given on how to be satisfied. To be satisfied, we have to do devotional service that is both causeless and unbroken. Unbroken. And His Holiness B. Krishna Maharaj, he also gave a class in the Fiji in 2011. He was saying that we have to be on the state of Nishta. Nishta means 24 hours a day, and it has to be unbroken. We have to be Nishta first before we can progress to the rasas. Nishta basically means to conquer the senses. So conquer the senses means that we have to control the senses. But it's not simply checking in and checking out. So we don't check in when we go to work, check out when we get angry, check out when we have to watch Bollywood, all that sort of stuff. We don't do that. We have to be firmly fixed in devotional service. And I remember there's one example given by Sankarshan Maharaj, His Holiness Sankarshan Maharaj, that our senses are like the uncontrolled minds of the Vrindavan monkeys. The monkeys of Vrindavan, they like our uncontrolled senses. Until you actually control the monkeys, then they'll just keep annoying you. I have my personal experiences. I think those who have been to Vrindavan know that monkeys, they can't control their senses. They just go and they jump and they do all sorts of things. I have a lot of experiences. But yeah, so our minds are like Vrindavan monkeys. I know that Taral Prabhu, he was, because he does his Gopal Gurus gang class every second Sunday. So what happens, I think this is maybe a few years ago, but they're all kids. So what happens that when he asks us a question, the first thing they do is they put their hands up and they start jumping. They jump on their seat. So to stop this, told Prabhu, it's a very, very smart idea. He said that we do not have to be like Vrindavan monkeys. Vrindavan monkeys, they want to jump, they can't control their senses. So we have to restrain ourselves and put our hand up. We don't like a jump. So this has been a lesson that has been with me for a long time. And once we actually study, only then can we go into spontaneous service. We have to be fully steady first before we go into spontaneous service. And this can be done under the direction of the spiritual master. Once we are under the direction of the spiritual master, then everything will come when the time comes. Otherwise, as I said before, how can you ask a big person to become your son? Like you go to Scott Morrison, say, "Hello, Scott Morrison, I want to be your son." No, I want you to be my son. You can't do that. You have to come to that stage first. So, in this regard, though, in the purport, there is a word of warning. In the last few word lines, there's a warning. It says that Vaishnava Aparad can make even the most advanced person fall down. Now, the example that he gave is Hayhaya, who fell down because of Vaishnava Aparad and was killed by Lord Parshuram. So, if we look at it geographically, Hayhaya is a kingdom that is actually under one of the descendants of Atri Muni. So, they're descending from Atri Muni. And this Hayhaya is, we also know as Kartavirya Arjun, who, what he did is that, as described by Sridhara Swami, I'll take a step back. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10.73.20, Srila Prabhupada describes this Vaishnava Aparad very, very well. He says that, as described by Sridhara Swami, because Hayhaya stole the desire cow of Lord Parshuram's father, Jamadagni, Parshuram killed him and his impudent sons. So we can see that even a little bit of offense that we do a little bit of offense, and what happens is that the Vaishnavas, if we do that, that offense can not only destroy you, but the rest of your dynasties as well. Sometimes people also say that in Srimad Bhagavatam, the 7th canto, Nrsimhadev actually gives Prahlad Maharaj the blessing that 21 generations of yours, 21 generations will be liberated. They will come to me. 21 generations. But, so people do this devotion, there is service, thinking that, the rest of my 21 generations are safe. But when Hayhaya, when he offended the devotee of the Lord, Jamagdani, Parshuram, he became so angry that he not only killed his dynasty, he destroyed the whole Kshatriya race, that too 21 times. So a little bit of devotional service, we can benefit our 21 generations. I'm not saying that's false, but a little bit of Vaishnava Aparad, a little bit of offense can destroy that 21 generations as well. Not only that, but just as Parshuram did, the whole Kshatriya race. So, how do we avoid Vaishnava Aparad? So, Sankarshan Maharaj, he gave a very simple example. Explanation. We just have to be humble in our services. So we can see that in devotional service we have so many positions where we shouldn't be like, I am temple president, I am GBC, I am head pujari, this, that. Yes, we have our positions, but we shouldn't necessarily take pride in them. We still have to be humble and be more humble than the grey blade of grass. And secondly is that we also have to remember our constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. So I remember last night, I was asking Maharaj a question on Zoom, and I asked him that because we are in so much contact with the material nature, sometimes it is possible for us to forget our constitutional position, because our main position is to serve the Lord. But once we interact with the material energy, there is a risk of us forgetting that. So what do we do? So Maharaj actually gave a very, very nice example. Nice explanation. He said two things. Firstly, we have to chant as much as we can. And secondly, we have to have the association of pure devotees. So, firstly, we have to chant as much as we can. Yeah. I'll conclude. Okay, 2 minutes. To finish up? Okay. So, we have to chant as much as we can. So, that basically means that in every situation that we are in, we have to chant. So like, whatever situation we have, we have to somehow or other remember Krishna. And at the same time, we have to have the association of the pure devotees, that positive association. Association doesn't necessarily mean that we associate with whoever we want. Socializing, it's not socializing. We have to actually take the opportunity to strengthen our own devotional service to Krishna. I remember that His Holiness Kadambakananda Maharaj, he was given an initiation here 2 years ago, and he said, he was actually explaining why we have the tulsi beads. He said that we have neck beads, tulsi beads. Some people say that it's so that we get protected when we fall down and we have to go to Yamaraj. However, he said that's actually not the case. I mean, he did say that that is a reason why we wear neck beads, to be protected. But the main reason is because we could have that devotee association 24 hours a day, 24 hours, 7 days a week. We could have that association constantly. So that the reason we have neck beads is because Tulsi Mahani is it's a pure devotee. Because she is a pure devotee, we can have that association. In this way, this is a concluding point, we can become recharged and surcharged in a devotional service. So recharge and surcharge in a devotional service, and by doing this, we will remember our position. So the main takeaway point from today's topic is that we have to remember our constitutional position as the servant of the Lord. Once we do that, we can do devotional service, and the more service we do, the more we can actually progress further. So Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Gurudeva ki, Nitagore Manande. Hari Hari Bol.
Come back to it again next week. So if you look at let's go forward. So this is slide 24, movement of sun. So you have earth and you have sun, and these are the different signs of the zodiac you see in the path which is traversed by the sun. We discussed it last week. Okay, this is of interest to us. Movement of sun. This is slide 25. Now this is Kala Chakra. Now, sun is actually going in clockwise direction only, but it looks as if he is going in anti-clockwise direction. Now, if you take this Kala Chakra, there are 12 compartments in this. So, there is 6 here at the top and 6 more at the bottom, which is, they correspond to 12 different Rashis, or the zodiac signs, okay, in this zodiac belt you see here. Now, how can we understand that sun takes 30 days to actually go past this? Now there is a difference between, I'll see if I can simplify this. So if you look on the board, let us say this is your Kala Chakra. So usually if you take any point, there is 360 degrees around that point. So one circle is 360 degrees, okay? So if you divide it, it becomes 180, 180. Then I'm dividing this into 4 quadrant, which is 90 degrees each. Now, if I somehow divide this into 3, likewise this, as well as this. Mine is uneven, but you assume each one has the same distance, okay, same size. Each of these different sector. So if this is 360, I have divided it into 12, I hope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, there is 12 here altogether. So in this 12, so there is 360 degree around the point. Each one of them, they correspond to 30 degrees. Understand? So this is Kala Chakra. Each one correspond to different zodiac signs. Let me put, okay, Gemini. You have Taurus. Is that Aries? Yes. So on and so forth. Okay, each one of them, they correspond to different zodiac sign. Each one of them, they correspond to also, this is 30 degrees